let's continue. So, continue from where we stopped in the dashboard design. So the first thing we're going to do, can use your our red square method, but I'm making sure this revenue text, the spacing on top is 24, spacing by the side is 24. So once that is set, so basically align this one, like to be aligned with this page, and I'll make sure it's 24 by this side. So what I'm basically using to see the spacing, I'm holding down my alt on keyboard. So once I click on any element and hold down my alt, Figma is going to show me the spacing by the side. So you can see for this month and this arrow icon, you can see the spacing by the right hand side is 22. So I'm going to move it 2 times so that it will be with the same with what we have. So once that is got, we'll just do. Can anyone hear me now? Okay, okay. So let's continue. So I'll copy this text here. I'll just replace it with what we already have here. I'll paste this on top. So I'll paste this on top. So I'll just bring it down this way and make sure it's placed by the side. So this text, the spacing between the text, we're giving it a 32. Let me undo all of them. So I'll basically work on the spacing between these elements here. like this. So I'll click on this and use my use my auto layouts. Then I'll also make sure the spacing between the line and this is 16 too. I'll also bring in this text. I'll copy this and just paste it at the bottom. Make sure this and this is aligned to the left. And spacing between this and this. So the next thing now is the graph. So let's see how we can achieve this with pen tool. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll come to this place, come to my pen tool, click here, drag it to 10K, then I can bring it down to, sorry, this is 100K, then drag it to 10K, move it up to 500K. And I can bring it down to 1K. Then bring it down here. So the next thing I'm going to do, I will draw the line down. Sorry, let me set, let me confirm something. Okay. So let me do the chart again. So I'll delete this. So let me just use my pen to click, drag. I want to make sure all the lines are straightened. Drag, click. Drag. So for this first one now, I'm going to make sure this line, so I just want to leave it at the stroke first. So I'll make sure the edges of the lines are rounded for the two edges of the line. Then I'll give it like a thickness of 3. So I want to also make sure the corners, all these corners here, they're rounded. I don't want them to be sharp edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this, then click on, so let me do it again. So once you double click on this, to go back to the edit format of this line, here you can edit the line. So I'll click on this dot. You can see the dot has turned blue. Hold down shift, click on the next dot and click on this one. So I'll just do that for the corners, then give it like 0.5 rounded. I don't want it to be sharp, or I'll increase it to 0.8. Let me just give it 1. Let's see. Let me increase it to 2. Okay. Let me make it 5. This time you need to keep on trying things. So this is okay by me. Then I'll give the line a radius, gradient color rather. So I'll come to this place, go to this place, then choose a color. So I'll give it blue. Then I'll give this second one the purple. So I'm going to place it this way. So I need to play around with this color. So now that we have this line, so the next thing I'm going to do for me to achieve this kind of faint feel, you can see this faint part here. So that is the next thing we want to achieve. So I'm going to click on this line. So once I click on this line, then I'll duplicate. So as I've duplicated, the line is there, but you won't see because it's on top of each other. So I'll lock this first one, then the one that is being duplicated, I'll double click on it so that the edit part of the line can come out so that I can give it complete the corners by adding this stroke at the bottom. So why I'm basically doing this is so that I can add a fill. So you're going to see that in a bit. So that was the reason why I added that stroke at the down part so that I can add a fill. If it's just only that line, we can't add a fill like a color inside the shape. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So that's why I did that. So now that we have that color, I'll remove the stroke. Remember the stroke, the linear gradient we gave to the stroke. I'm going to remove it because now we don't need it. So the next thing now, we're going to use gradient for this inner graph that I duplicated. So for this first color, I want it to be a very faint blue, very faint. So I'll do the same for this. So it's going to be a very faint color. So now I don't so I don't want it to so you can see the way this down part is. So that is what I want to achieve with the line. So what I'm going to do, because if you can see now, let's zoom in. You can see the way the color is reaching this down part. I'm talking about the fainted color, the light color rather, is reaching the edge. So I don't want it that way. So what I'm going to do, I'll go back to the color. So this part, which is at the bottom, I'll set it to 0. Then, sorry. Then I'm going to leave only this one. So we can drag this down to come out nicely. So let's remove the grid and see what we have. So you can see now. So this had to up with a chart. So I can increase the thickness of the line. So I want to make it into I need to put it to bottom so that it will come out nicely. So let me still work on this line again. I reduce this to 3 so that it will look better. So this fill color, I want to play around with this. So I'll make it this way. So that's it for this line. So the next thing now is to achieve this tiny circle here. So what I'm going to do now is to zoom in a bit. So I'll draw a circle. So that circle, I'm going to give it 24. I'm basically using numbers that are divisible by 8. So I'll draw this 24. So when I made that 24, so I'll give it pure white. For it to stand out, I'm going to give it an effect. An effect. So I'll just create a brand new effect. Okay, this effect is okay. Give this increase it to 2. So have a very nice effect. You need to play around with your blur. So whenever you're using effect, make sure you increase your blur so that the effect is going to come out nicely. So I'll just leave it at this. Then this is white. Then the next one that is going to be inside. So this is 24. So I'll make this 16. I'll make this 16. So one major thing about placing shapes on top of each other is that since we're using numbers that are divisible by 8, let me show you what I mean because I was having that issue before. So let me say, for example, please, is everyone following so far? If you are following so far, see something in the chat section. Okay, so let's continue. So let me say, for example, you want to draw a circle and you want a circle inside another circle. Even if it's for rectangle, the same principle I'm about to explain now is applied. So I'll draw the circle. And let me say, for example, the size of this circle is 40. Using numbers that are divisible by 8. So size of this thing is 40. Or let me leave it at 40. Then the circle that I want to place inside, let me give this another color. So let me say, for example, the circle that is inside, let me give it a random number. Let me make it 15. So sometimes you might try to place the circle in the center and it's not coming together. Let me say, for example, we're trying to place this in the center. Optically, it's not well aligned because the numbers are not coming from the same family. What I mean by the same family is that if, for example, this 40 now is divisible by 8, don't come here and use another number that is not divisible by 8. If you are using numbers that are divisible by 4, make sure the number that is the sizing of this one inside is also divisible by 4. If not, when you try to centralize it, like if you watch what I'm doing here, this thing is not optically aligned. Like visually, if you're looking at it, it's not optically aligned. This is Figma is showing us that it's in the center with the red line crossing each other. But if you look at the side, it's not in the center. So I was having that issue. I was having that issue before. So that's it. So now that, sorry. So now that we have this one 40, this one inside, we can make it 16. Make it 16 if you want. So this one inside, we can make it 16. So once we make it 16, you can see once we are placing it in the center, is well aligned. If we want to increase the circle, we can go with 24. they are all in the same family, they are all divisible by 8. And once you place it in the center, it's well centralized. Even 32, if you place it, is well centralized. So because all the numbers, um, all the sizing of these shapes, they are all coming from the same family, that which are numbers that are divisible by 8. So that's just one thing to note. I was having that issue when I was coming up. So for this circle inside, we're going to make it blue this way. Then we'll just group it. We'll group it like this. So you can see everything is coming together. So the next thing now we're going to do is to draw a line. So we can use pen tool for the line. I'll just click here and just draw a straight line. And I'll make sure this is 1. I want the line to be thin. So this line is not going to be linear. It's going to be a solid color. I'll bring it to the front of this graph. And the color is now going to, so I can make this darker. Then I'll make sure this the line is broken. So I don't want the line to be straight. I want it to have dashes like this. So I'll increase the dash to something like 10. I want it to have this kind of pin effect, like something is pinned. I'm having a feeling that this line I drew is not correct, so I'm going to redo it. So I'll just use the zoom in to check. Let me draw. So let me use the line tool instead for the lines. I'll just draw. Sorry, I'm going to hold down my shift and draw a straight line. And zoom in, so I'll make sure I want this line to be very tiny, so I'll make it 0.5. Make it to have rounded corners. Then the dash, I'm going to increase it to 10 this way. Then place it. So this line is going to be behind this circle. So I'll bring it down this way. I'll give this a color of blue. So increase the line thickness a bit, make it 1. Something like this. Then make the color, the blue color a little bit thicker, darker rather, that it can be visible. So that is it um for the graph. So one important thing I want us to talk about before we enter these recent activities is the table. So most times coming up with tables can be very, very challenging in the part of you aligning it. So I'll just copy copy what I have here. So I'll just copy this. So I'll copy this, then I'll paste it inside our content area. Before I do that, let me ensure everything is grouped. Everything is grouped together here so that the work is not going to be scattered. I'll group and frame it. So while that is done, so I'll just make sure the spacing, let's see the spacing we use between this and this. So images of images of 32. Okay, we just leave it at 40. Spacing between each section, spacing between, oh my God, I missed something. I missed the line. Do not select it while grouping. So this and this 40, this and this. Okay, so let me bring this inside the content area. Make it 40. So, so most times when designing a table, let me just use this table to explain, because it's basically the same spacing pattern. So most times when designing a table, I'll also give another scenario about this table so that we understand what I'm about to say. So let me say, for example, you can see the spacing we have here. I have the spacing here. You can see the spacing we have here and the spacing we have here is not the same. So even here, so there are some scenarios where you are designing a table that has to do with when the person has to enter their name, something like this. So you know that in reality, despite the fact we're designing, our design is not like the final product. So one thing you need to note is that when designing table, you need to make sure that you have enough space. So let me say, for example, the design we make now, we have like somebody that has like three names here. Here is a scenario somebody has two names. Here the person has one name. So whenever you are designing a table and you want to represent people's name, you have to make sure you give enough space, because in reality, when that project is being coded, they are not in control of different users and different names they are going to be entering into the system. So except the system is going to be created in a way that the user cannot enter more than one name. But it's always good you give enough space in your table. So for example, we have name here. We give enough space here so that in case the user is entering maybe extra name, like one extra name, there's going to be enough space. The whole table is not going to be jam-packed. So let me say, for example, this particular table I designed. So if the person wants to enter Adams, so you can see there is still spacing between the Adams and this, because most times you are not in control of how users are going to use the platform at times. So there are some times that you might be designing, you might be um, designing a platform and you make everything so beautiful, both your images, all those stuff. But in reality, the users are not going to use beautiful images. Sometimes they might just use any image that is not, some of the images are looking very funny. So in as much as we're trying to make our designs look very neat, you need to also make sure that you mimic what is going to happen in reality. So most times you're going to like give enough space. So let me show you how to get that space. So we use our red square method. We're going to use the highest number, which is 48. So I'm going to, so let me take this back to the default. So, so we can join these two together and decide to join these two. So why I'm joining this together. So this is like 48. So you can bring it down. I'm trying to like give extra space. Then you shift this. So you can shift this data here to lap on the 48. So for this date here, you can also do the same thing. So let me click on, so I'll make sure we have, okay, so it's still going to enter because it's a bigger table. So this particular principle I'm talking about here about arranging your data is also applied to when you're doing a small table. So we'll cover that of small table in a bit. So I'll click on this, click on this, then shift it to the edge so that you touch the tip. So for timing, there is no way the user is going to enter a time that is going to be bigger than this. So most of our timing, they are always in 2 digits. So that one, there will be no issue. So with this now, so from here, you can use like your auto layer to space this for contents here. So this spacing I give here, you can increase it depending on the data you want to have. So I just use 48 plus 48 for the spacing here. So now that I've given enough space for these two, so that whenever the person is entering maybe a date that has a longer spelling, like September, November, December, or wherever, it's going to enter here plus the naming. So this naming, I'm even feeling this spacing I gave here is not enough, but you can always increase it whenever you want. So now that I've spacing these two, so the next thing I'm going to do for this side to be well aligned is I'm going to put all this in auto layout. Why I'm putting them in auto layout is so that I can work on the spacing of those two. So I'm basically going to increase the spacing there. I want it to lap at this edge. So I'll just reduce a bit. So I'll just optically reduce it so that it will fit. What I mean by optical is like using your eye to space the design so that it will look better visually. So I've aligned it. So with that now, I can now align the rest contents like this. So I'll do it this way. So you can see now there's a little issue here. This status is not supposed to be here, it's supposed to be at this edge. So I'll just remove it. So right now I'm optically arranging them so that it will come out better. So I'll ungroup this to remove it from the auto layout, then click on this status, then align it to the text so that it will be well placed. So let me ensure other ones are well aligned. So yeah, so that's it for our table. You can see our table is looking neat. Sorry. Our table is looking neatly done. So another thing now is to also design for a state when a particular cell, please, if you are following so far, say something in the chat section. If you are following so far, say something in the chat section. So far, do anyone have any question? If you are following so far, say something in the chat section. If you have any question, you can ask. Are we following? Only one person is following. Okay, Samuel and Makinde. Benny. Okay. Okay, so another thing now is whenever you're designing table, you also need to design for the state whenever this a particular cell in the table is being selected. So now as you can see here, you can see what I did. I drew a rectangle behind this. I gave it a stroke of 0.8, add an effect so that whenever somebody is selecting a particular cell, you can see it looks as if this particular part is rising up. So there are different states you can give for your selection on table depending on how you want to do it. You can even go as far as making the color to change. So it's up to you. So it's better you always note this whenever you are designing a dashboard table. So there was something I wanted to show us. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so let me show you how you can design a table when the table is smaller. How to space it. So sorry, let me confirm I'm not forgetting something. I feel this is not well aligned. Oh, let me check on spacing. That's okay, let's leave it. In a scenario when we have like a smaller table, so let me bring out an example. So there was a particular dashboard I designed for a tutorial I created on dashboard. So let me carefully look for the design so that I can use it to show something. Just give me a sec. Let me get it. Mm. So you can see, even for the creating of the cards, I also use red square method. So one major thing you should know is that spacing is everything. So you can see I use red square method for all the spacing here. So let me look for Okay, let me not waste our time. I'll get it maybe in our next class. So let's go back to the former file we were designing. So let's come back here. So, mm, so if you can do this too, this tray plus this sidebar and this, it's very easy for us to do this. So let's move over to images. I want to show something about images. So let's say, for example, we want to use an image in our design. So Figma has an a tool that you can use to edit your images, because most times when using stock photos in your design, you need to make sure you edit them so that it's going to come out very great. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to be drawing two boxes here. So I'll right click, I'll go to free pick. I use free pick a lot, so I'll go to free pick. So I'll get an image. So let me get education images. So I'm going to use this. So I like using free pick a lot because the image picture quality of free pick images, they are so nice, yeah, like high quality, better than pixels and the rest. So then I copy this into two. So now let's edit the second one so I can see the difference. So this is the image here. The image looks good already because it's from free pick, but let's touch it a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'll click on this and come to fill. When you come to fill, you come to this place, you see exposure, contrast, saturation, temperature, tint, highlights, shadows. The thing is that most designers, they don't use this part of Figma. The thing is that it can take your design from 0 to 100. Because one thing you should notice is that as a product designer or as a UI UX person, paying attention to every little details, it matters a lot in your work. So I'm going to edit this image now. So I'm going to increase the exposure a bit, contrast. So let me see how it will be. The thing is that if for example you're using 50 image, all the 50 image in your design should have the same settings, editing settings, so that all your image is going to be consistent. Because most times when you get stock photos from different websites, sometimes the way the image is going to look might have different. I don't know if you okay, I'll just show you an example so that you understand what I'm trying to say. Let me edit this image. Increase the saturation, temperature, and highlights. I don't like using tints and shadows. I use more of exposure, contrast, saturation, temperature, and highlights. So I'll work on the highlights this way. So now you can see the difference between the two images. So this is the first images when it was not edited. This is how it looked when it's edited. So let me show you what I was trying to say. So let's say, let me draw a circle. Well, let me just use a rectangle. I'll give this a corner radius of 20. I'll duplicate this again. I'll duplicate this. So now let's fill it in with images so that you see what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to be using different image plugin. So let's look for um, so I think pixels. Okay, so let's go here. Sometimes when you want to get a particular image, let me just type education here. Let me see the images that will be showing. That's one thing I don't like. Pixels. The images are looking blurry and it's not looking high quality. So let me get one from here. So I'll get this one from here. Let me see if I can get another one. So another thing about images is that whenever you're using images in any of your design, you need to make sure that your the images you're using is in line with what the project is all about. So don't just choose image randomly. So let's go back to free pick. So majority of the time it's better you choose all your image from one source instead of going to pixels, going to this. So let's just use pixels for this one. Let's just continue. So show you more type education. So let's click this. So click this too. So now you can see, let's zoom into these images. If you see this image, the way this image is and the way this one is not the same. This image, the area of focus is this girl here. You can see the way this image is. The texture of this image and the texture of this image is different. The texture of this and texture of this is different. So also the texture of this. So that's why if I want to use them for our design, we need to make sure that all the texture are the same. So let me duplicate this. So I'll duplicate this. As little as this thing looks, can actually fix your skyrocket your design. So Figma does not have the property where you can edit image together. So we're going to take our time and do it one by one. So we'll just note the editing we're using. So our exposure, we're shifting it to this part. Contrast, shifting it to this part. Saturation, we're shifting it to this part. Temperature, shifting it. Temperature will go this way. We want the image to look very sharp. Then highlight. So we repeat the same process for the other images. So for this, exposure was this way. Contrast was this way. Uh, let's go back because most time you might forget what you used. So okay, 1, 2, 3 this way. Temperature is the only thing that went that way. So let's come back again. So saturation this way, temperature this way, highlights. So we just repeat the same thing. So you can see now that because we edited all the images they look alike. The way it looks. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. If you understand what I'm trying to say about this image, say something in the chat section. If you understand what I'm trying to say about this image, say something in the chat section. Is there anyone that is following? Is it that we're not following? If you understand so far, say something in the chat section. Okay, Samuel, you have a question. Okay, ask your question.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. How you doing?
I'm good, guys.
Okay,
So
your question.
for the images, what if
Yeah.
the images are different sections?
You said
Different sections. What if the images are from different sections?
different section have websites, stock photos websites. Is it what you mean?
Hello? Huh?
Yes. Is it do you what do you mean by section? Do you mean different stock photo websites?
No. You are saying the images have to have the same
Has to come from the same place, right?
feature.
I can't hear you
So
clearly.
I'm
You're kind
saying
of
what
breaking.
images that I'm using, they are not just come from the same place, but they also have to have the same.
Please come again. I was not hearing you at some point.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I'm saying aside the images coming from the same database or something like that, is it compulsory
Stock
to
website, yes,
implement
not
them?
database.
Okay, not website. So is it compulsory they must have the same editing, even when they are to be used from different sections? Like maybe one is to be used as hero section, another one is to use as another subsection.
It depends on how you are using the image. There are sometimes that for the hero section, you have to make the hero section darker so that
So,
the text you'll be putting on top. If it's a scenario where you have an image in the background and a text is going to be on top, this editing might not really be necessary because most times you need to like make that image darker by adding like a black color on top of the image so that when you place the text will be visible. So most times this come in handy, for example, when the image is just like a standalone image, there is no text on top. This editing comes in very handy. So wherever the image, you're using any image on your website and on your design, as far as there is no text on top, all of them should have the same editing.
all right, thank you. Understood.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so that's it for the image. You can see this one is different from this. This second version is actually looking great. So there's one other smaller something I want to teach us. So most times when you're coming up with avatar image, so you can see this avatar image, this guy here, he was not he the shirt he was wearing was not black. I was the one that changed it to black. So that's all. This was the color of the shirt the guy was wearing. So you can see it here. So I had to use pen to color it because most times there are sometimes when designing, especially when you're trying to put something on your portfolio, you want to make sure that all your avatars they look very nice and presentable, even if when it will be developed and used by actual users, it might not be that fine, but you just want to make sure it's okay. So let's see if we can achieve this. Let's see. So first of all, I'm going to create a circle. So let me come back to this. Then we'll get an image. So come to free pick. We'll get a profile image. So anytime you're choosing profile, make sure you all the profile you're choosing for your design is actually has the same let me say for example, you can see the way these images look like this is nice. So don't go on, even if there are some scenarios where when users are using it, they might upload different photos, but for the design, you just need to make sure everything is great. So you can see image like this and this particular one here goes very well because you can see the way the person took the picture. It's like a headshot. So this one is like a side headshot. This one is side. This one, the hair is scattered. This one, except you want to use photo that the cameraman was far a bit from the image and was far a bit from the person. So you can see this one here looks bolder than this. So it's up to you. Anyone you want to use is up to you. But you need to make sure all of them are the same. So most time when designing profile, you don't need to use images like this. Images like this, or this. Though most times you can use this, but you just need to make sure anyone you're choosing, they all match together. So for this example, I'll be using this profile image here. So I want to also want to remove the image and the background. So let me see if my remove BG is going to work. Let me see, let me see, let me see, let me see. Let me remove background. It's telling me to set API key first. So, okay. So there won't be time to start removing API key. So what I'm going to do is I will export this image. Then go to their website to uh, I'll go to the remove BG website, remove background website so that I can remove the background. Then I'm going to upload the image. And I'll download it, then bring it back to my Figma file. Even when as we're making use of this profile, you can still edit it too. So since you already know how to edit, we'll just go into the so now I want to place this image inside the circle. I don't know why this image is looking somehow. Okay, let me just edit it. Let me edit it a bit. So I'm going to use my scale to scale the image down a bit. So make sure anything you're choosing, I'm choosing number that is divisible by 8. So the shape of the circle is going to be 32. So this is my image. I'm going to optically place it inside this circle. So I'm also going to be mindful about the space that is going to be at the top, because I don't want the space to look weird. So I'll optically make sure the spacing at the top is not too much. This spacing be on top of the man's head. So I'll click these two, then use my, I'm sorry. So I want to max it. If we can't do this today, we'll do it in our next class. So let me bring it to front. Let me check how I was able to do this. Most times when you do something, you tend to forget how you did it. Okay, so let me try it again. So I'll select then max. So now that I've maxed, I'm going to go into that max. Okay, let me control Z. So I will duplicate the circle. So you can see the circle is 2. So I'll click the image with the first circle at the back, then max it. So once that is maxed, I don't know if you understand what I did. Sorry. Then I'm going to go to this one. Let me see if it will work. Okay, it didn't work. Let me see. Okay, it worked. So I don't know if you understood what I did. If you understood what I did, say something in the chat section. So the goal was to make sure the the image is inside the circle properly. So if you understand what I'm doing, if you understand what I just did, say something in the chat section. Okay, so you can always go back to the YouTube channel to rewatch. So I'm going to group all of this together, then duplicate this. So now the next thing now is, for example, if we have like different images, different profile images, maybe for different users, there might be different scenarios where you need to make use of profile. So most times the shirt that the profile is wearing, the clothes, it might not look nice. So you might want to edit the shirt so that it's going to look consistent. As little as this detail is, it actually make your design to stand out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the color of this man's shirt. So I'm going to use my pen to start tracing. So you can see what I'm doing. So I'm tracing it now. I'm tracing it. So now that I've traced it like this, I will reduce the stroke to 0, then give it a fill. So I'm going to remove the stroke and just give it a feel of, you can give it any color you want, but I'll just give it pure black. Sorry, then I'm going to work on the stroke. I'll make sure it's well aligned to the tip so that everything will look nice. So for me to get this very well, I'm going to zoom in so that I can place it very well at the tip. So let me just I'll do the same thing for this corner. So you can see, so if, for example, in a scenario we have different images, all the images is going to have like a black shirt, making everything consistent. So that was how I was able to do this. So yeah. So far, do we have any question? So let me also explain something before we call it the end of today's class. So I want us to talk about the difference between homepage and landing page. So we'll just talk a little bit about it. Then we'll continue from here in our next class. So it's better you know this important so that whenever you have like a job to design a home page and a landing page, you're going to know the difference. So a home page is basically the first page that you see whenever you come to a website. So we have websites, we have landing page. Whenever you hear a landing page is basically used for advertising a particular product. In a website can be owned by a particular company. So let me say, for example, somewhere has a company that is into the manufacturing of soap, manufacturing of different cosmetics, soap, and wherever. So somewhere has a website that talks about his company. So let's say, for example, somewhere company now launch a particular soap that has a particular fragrance. They need a landing page because the landing page is going to be used to advertise that particular product. So there's a way to design a landing page. So whenever you are asked to design a landing page, there are some important things that has to be in that landing page that will actually drive sale. Because the main purpose of that landing page is to drive sale, like for the somebody to go up to the landing page, see the product, and also make buy that particular product. So you need to make sure that you have some particular structure in your landing page that's going to drive sale. So you have a well-defined structure, benefit focus headline, social proof. Social proof basically means testimonial, or it can be, oh, this soap is used by Don Jazzy, or this soap is used by a particular influencer, or it can be testimonials of people using that product. Because whenever people come to a landing page and they see that, oh, people are already using this product, they can see testimonial. Testimonial can be in form of video testimonials where they are seeing people actually using the people testifying they will want to purchase. So this landing page, you need to like make sure you have things that can actually make people to buy the product, because The main purpose of a landing page is to drive sales, to generate leads. Leads are people that will always be coming back to patronize you. So I've already mentioned, is also used for advertising. So multiple, okay, I think this is for homepage. Let me go back to. So there are some scenarios that a landing page does not have like a top navigation bar. So what I mean by navigation bar is if you look at this image here, this is a screenshot from a website. You can see this website has a nav bar that shows product, customer, company, pricing, charge log, sign in and book demo. But for a landing page, in some scenarios, in majority of the scenarios, landing page does not have all those links that will lead you to other internal pages. Sometimes it's only the logo you see and just one button. So, because the main purpose of that landing page is not to drive them into different pages, it's just for them to come to that particular website, see how the product they want to purchase is going to help them, and for them to pay money. So the main focus is on the product, not on them navigating. So you can see from this thing I just explained, you can see the purpose of a website and a landing page is different. So we'll be stopping here for today. So in our next class, we'll be diving deep into this, and we'll also touch on what a SaaS application is and um, how dashboard comes into SaaS application. So we'll basically dive into those things in our next class. So see you all in our next class. So before we go, do anyone have any question? So for today's class, we only have only 6 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 6 people. So far, do anyone have any question before we go? Mhm. Mhm. Okay, say you have a question unrelated to CodeCamp. Okay, send me a message on Discord. Send me a message on Discord, Benny. Okay, so that will be all for today's class, guys. So see you all in our next class. Bye.